What if the biggest mistake people make in relationships isn't saying the wrong thing? What if it's believing attraction is built on kindness, honesty, or endless effort? History tells a different story, not because people are evil, because human nature is far less comfortable than we'd like to admit. The hardest truth isn't that people lie, it's that people often lie to themselves first. They call emotional dependency love. They call desperation loyalty. They call constant availability devotion. Then they wonder why respect quietly disappears. Here's the uncomfortable question. Have you ever noticed that the moment someone becomes completely certain they have you, something changes? The excitement fades, the mystery evaporates, the dynamic shifts. Maybe that's not an accident. Maybe certainty changes the way people assign value. Stay until the end, because the final lesson is one that many powerful leaders throughout history understood, and it may completely change the way you think about attraction, influence, status, and human behavior. If you enjoy thoughtful explorations of psychology, philosophy, and strategy, subscribe and like the video. There is much more beneath the surface than most people ever notice. Most people believe attraction begins with emotion. Machiavelli would probably disagree. He understood something deeply unsettling. People rarely respond to intentions. They respond to perception. You may have the purest heart in the room. It doesn't matter. The world reacts to what it believes, not what is true. That is why status can overpower sincerity. Confidence can overshadow competence. Mystery can seem more attractive than complete transparency. Not because deception is admirable, because the human mind fills silence with imagination. And imagination is often stronger than reality. Think about the people who seem impossible to forget. Was it because they explained everything? Or because there was always something left unsaid? The mind hates unfinished stories. It obsesses over unanswered questions. That is why uncertainty is emotionally powerful, not magical, psychological. The brain searches for closure. When it cannot find it, it creates it. This is where many people unknowingly sabotage themselves. They answer every message immediately, reveal every feeling instantly, explain every insecurity, offer reassurance before it is requested. They believe transparency guarantees connection. Sometimes, it removes intrigue instead. The issue isn't honesty. The issue is predictability. Predictability feels safe. But safety alone is rarely exciting. People often confuse comfort with attraction. The two are not identical. Machiavelli observed that power is rarely surrendered willingly. The same pattern appears in everyday relationships. Who usually controls the emotional direction? The person chasing, or the person choosing? Most assume power belongs to whoever speaks the loudest. Often, it belongs to whoever needs the outcome the least. Need changes behavior. It creates urgency. Urgency creates mistakes. Mistakes reveal emotional dependence, and dependence quietly shifts the balance. This doesn't mean becoming cold. It means becoming centered. There is an enormous difference. Coldness pushes people away. Self-possession makes you difficult to destabilize. That distinction changes everything. People test boundaries constantly, sometimes consciously, sometimes without realizing it, not because they are malicious, because uncertainty reveals character. Pressure exposes emotional habits. When criticized, do you defend every accusation? When ignored, do you panic? When challenged, do you abandon your principles? Every reaction teaches people how easily your emotions can be influenced, and influence is always observed. Here's another uncomfortable truth. Respect and affection are related. They are not identical. Someone can enjoy your attention without respecting your boundaries. Someone can appreciate your kindness while taking it for granted. Someone can value your usefulness without valuing you. That realization has ended countless illusions. The danger begins when identity depends entirely upon another person's approval. Approval becomes survival. Disagreement becomes catastrophe. Distance becomes emotional chaos. At that point, you no longer choose your actions. Your fear does. Fear is remarkably persuasive. It convinces people to over-explain, to apologize unnecessarily, to negotiate their standards, to abandon self-respect for temporary reassurance. The tragedy? The reassurance rarely lasts because confidence borrowed from another person can always be withdrawn. Real stability comes from somewhere else. Machiavelli wrote extensively about appearances. Many misunderstand this. They think appearances require pretending. Not necessarily. It means understanding that every action communicates something. Silence communicates. Patience communicates. Boundaries communicate. Consistency communicates. So does desperation. So does insecurity. Nothing remains neutral. Every interaction tells a story. The question is, which story are people reading? History repeatedly demonstrates that influence belongs to those who regulate themselves before attempting to influence others. Emotional discipline is frequently mistaken for emotional absence. The opposite is true. It requires tremendous emotional awareness to respond rather than react. Anyone can explode. Anyone can beg. Anyone can chase certainty. Very few people can remain composed while uncertainty unfolds. That composure changes how others perceive you, not because it manipulates them, because emotional stability is naturally compelling. Now consider betrayal. Nearly everyone fears it. Few recognize its earliest signs. Betrayal rarely begins with dramatic moments. It begins with tiny compromises ignored repeatedly, standards abandoned, promises minimized, patterns excused. People don't usually wake up inside toxic dynamics. They slowly normalize them. One decision at a time. One rationalization at a time. One ignored instinct at a time. Perhaps the greatest illusion is believing influence is something you perform. It isn't. Influence is something others experience when your actions consistently align with your values. Performance eventually cracks. Character scales. This is why authenticity, combined with discipline, often outlasts charisma. Charisma captures attention. Character keeps respect. And respect survives long after excitement fades. The final lesson is the one most people never expect. Power isn't making others emotionally dependent on you. That kind of power is fragile. It demands constant maintenance, constant validation, constant control. Real power is different. Real power is remaining fully yourself whether someone stays or leaves. Because the moment your peace depends entirely on another person's choices, they unknowingly possess more control than you do. Machiavelli understood politics. Modern psychology understands cognition. Together, they point toward the same uncomfortable conclusion. People are constantly evaluating confidence, boundaries, consistency, and emotional regulation. Not because they're calculating every interaction, because human beings instinctively respond to signals of stability. The strongest presence in the room is rarely the loudest. It is often the person who cannot be easily shaken. Not because they feel nothing, because they have learned not to surrender themselves to every passing emotion. That is not manipulation. It is mastery, and mastery always begins within. Perhaps that is the secret people search for in books, podcasts, and late-night conversations. Not a trick, not a hidden phrase, not a psychological shortcut. Just the quiet realization that the less your identity depends on external validation, the more freely you move through the world. People notice. Some admire it. Some misunderstand it. Some resist it. But almost everyone feels it. Because genuine self-command is difficult to imitate and impossible to fake forever. Think about that the next time you're tempted to chase approval at the cost of your own standards. Sometimes the greatest display of power isn't convincing someone to choose you. It's knowing you'll remain whole even if they don't. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.